Yeah, I think it's a little bit more than boycotting, Rachel. So what are we saying now? Fiery, but mostly peaceful? She carefully cherry-picked nice, wholesome-looking protest videos, but as you can see, that is not at all the real story. It appears selectively excusing violence is now the hill the Democrats are choosing to die on.
Joining us now to react, Fox News political analyst Gianno Caldwell. I don't know which of these apologists and apologies are the most stunning, but I think people getting their knickers in a twist about violent, murderous gang members being deported, or the framing by all of the media minions. The New York Times is an example of just a professor and a surgeon is being deported for no reason, when it turns out that she was essentially worshiping at the altar of a terrorist and was in Lebanon at the funeral of the leader of Hezbollah.
Yeah. And, you know, I heard Steve say that the Democratic Party is now the party of violence, but I would argue they've long been the party of violence. I think back to what Maxine Waters said: if you see someone from the Trump administration, you get out, you make a crowd, and you push back on them. We've had many, many other examples to cite as to why they're the party of violence. And when I saw back in 2016 a poll where it said a good majority of Americans feared political violence, and now we're seeing this before our own very eyes. Tesla is a private American company. This is not a government facility. It's not owned by the government. These are private owners. Either you own a vehicle or a dealership. The fact that they're doing this makes them a part of the terrorism, in my humble opinion. The fact that they're going out and saying, we know the names of Tesla owners, we're giving their addresses, and we're going to show you how to cause destruction to them, is terrorism. This is something Kash Patel should absolutely be looking out. Instead of what the FBI did previously. If you were a Catholic, then you were on some terrorist watch list. This is legitimate terrorism. It's domestic terrorism.
Exactly right, Gianno, and I appreciate you saying that so clearly. Joining the conversation now, let's bring in host of the 47 Morning Update podcast and co-host of Verdict with Ted Cruz, Ben Ferguson. Ben, I mean, after all their lectures, the Democrats on, our democracy and their outrage over everything that happened on January the 6th. I mean, it's never about their principles, it's about their power, and this is just the latest example. They can't stand not having it.
Yeah, I also think it's an issue of just follow the money. And if you look at the money, whether it's on college campuses, whether it's Black Lives Matter, where it's Occupy Wall Street, I mean, you can go back over the last decade, and it's always funded by the radical left, anything that turns into something violent. Now, look, the media will lie to us. I go back to when there was a, police station on fire behind a report. It's like, well, it's been mostly peaceful out here, and you're watching a police station burn behind you and cities burn. But if there's anything that's been consistent with the Democratic Party, is when they don't get their way or they feel like they're losing, they start to try to incite riots, violence, attacking Tesla dealerships, attacking drivers, shutting down roadways, shutting down bridges, and it's all funded by the mega rich, the people they say they hate the most, right? The top 1%ers, the richest people, they're out there, George Soros and others, and they're the ones buying all the tents that match and all these Occupy that they're doing across college campuses. They're anti-Israel. So this is now the Democratic Party. People need to understand that.
Well, exactly. And when you see the way that they are so disoriented and lost, and all they have is this kind of totally unhinged violence and rage without anything constructive. I mean, Gianno, how do they get out of this?
Well, they don't get out of it unless the media gives them a pass, which is something that we know that they regularly do. And to Ben's point, George Soros is a person who's been the #1 donor to the Democratic Party. He's also been the individual who's funded over 75 progressive prosecutors, soft on crime prosecutors. And in some of these jurisdictions, you wonder who's going to be prosecuting these crimes if they're even at all prosecuted. The same person who's funding these various activities, whether they be protests that are violent, through Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, whatever the case may be, we seem to be able to really direct it back to him in many cases. And it's extraordinary that there's not been at this point, at least that I'm aware of, a federal probe into some of the activities through the foundations that are funded by George Soros, because it seems like a lot of criminal activity is coming through those particular foundation and organizational groups. This has to come to an end. This is not America. This is not the America we all would want to live in. You should be able to have an opinion and protest without being violent. You should also be able to recognize that there are good things going on in our country, and Elon Musk is doing them.
Ben, give me a final quick word.
Yeah, look, I think moving forward, what you're going to witness is the Democratic Party become even more radical, because when they're losing control in Washington, I mean, for goodness sakes, look at how much they're taking heat from the Senate leader of the Democratic Party, Schumer. He's having to cancel events now because they're eating themselves. I mean, these are Democrats that are socialists and Marxists and communists within the Democratic Party. They're in a civil war right now. And I would say this: stand back and watch what they do to one another. They want to do it to you if you don't listen either.
Yeah, but he's going to accuse the Republicans of being rich and greedy. Please. Why don't you give a ring-a-ding-ding to Nancy Pelosi while you're at it? Gianno Caldwell, Ben Ferguson, great to see both of you.
Thank you.